Hey guys, what's going on? Inception here and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the best formation in FIFA. Now, I don't heavily believe that there is a best formation in FIFA because I think everybody has their own playstyle that works out the best for them. For me personally, the best formation that works out best for me is the 4-2-3-1 wide, and I think that formation is the best formation in FIFA, whether you're talking about the narrow version of the formation with the three cams and the striker, or you're talking about the one that is more a defensive approach where you have the left mid and the right mid with more width. That's also the formation I like. But the one that I usually use the most is definitely the 4-2-3-1 wide because for me personally, I play a more defensive style, and I kind of play this style of wanting to break down someone's defense. So it works out really nicely for me because it's a slower build-up play, right? You can't really build up the play as quickly like you can with maybe like a 4-1-2-2 and so on and so forth. Certain things that people have to take into considerations when they're making their teams is you need to make a team that you can rotate to whatever formation you want and it still works. And this is something that I always mention in my other videos too, because it's very beneficial to the player. So as you guys can see right now, I start off this team as the 4-3-3. You can see that all my players have loyalty. I did have to play 10 games for people like Mbappe and I think Promise, because you can see that my manager is a Brazilian manager from the Serie A, right? So I had to get loyalty for some of the players. With this 4-3-3 variation, you can see that every player is in a position that is good enough to start off with. So I don't have to waste a tactic. I can have the balance set up just like this, right? You have Talisca as a center mid, Paulinho and Matuidi as its CDMs, Mbappe, Promise, Ben Yedder, and Talisca as your attacking players. And it works out really nicely, right? This is a good team to start your team off with, and I'll show you guys why. If you go to your custom tactics, you can see that this is the one that I usually start off with, right? So my defensive style is pressure on heavy touch. I have low depth so that I don't have people making the wide passes in behind my team that often. Although fullbacks in FIFA nowadays, they tend to push up a little bit. So it's kind of easier for people to attack against you because of that very reason. But yeah, I think this formation works out best for me. This is how it's set up in game. So Kylian Mbappe is my striker because I need to have a little bit of a physical presence. I like Ben Yedder, but I think Ben Yedder is best utilized the most in the cam position because he is high work rates. He can be utilized really well on the right side because he is a five-star weak foot player, which is very nice to have, right? And his finishing is good, his composure is good. It's just the height, right? Like the height is very important in FIFA nowadays, and if you don't have the height, you need to have other things that make up for the lack of height. So with Kylian Mbappe, because he is, I believe, 5'10 or 5'11 with some physical presence, which you guys will be able to see right here. He has, I believe, 70 physical, 72, and sometimes 72 physical might not show you the right stats that make the players good or bad, but with attributes, right, you can see that he has 71 strength, so that's good for the hold-up play, right? So if I pass the ball off to him, he is not really that capable of holding off the defenders because defenders are usually stronger, but he's good enough to be able to do it, right? Because he is 5'10", right, with 71 strength. Very nice to have, right? So with Kylian Mbappe's card, I have him up top as a striker in the 4-2-3-1. I like the 4-2-3-1 the best in this game. As you guys know, I do still play drafts as well. But with the drafts, I've always realized that in previous installments of FIFA, I've liked more formations. But in this year's games, I really struggle using different types of formations because it's just the spacing around the team. Because your custom tactics, as well as your play style that you would like to play, because everyone always has this linear play style, right? And you know, with the 4-3-3s, for instance, like I'm very bad with those formations, right? I've seen people like Rocky uses the 4-3-3 bracket 3 or 4, and he does work with that formation. Everybody's different, right? So the 4-2-3-1 works best for me, and I think the biggest reason why it works best for me, I need to stress that, is because of the two CDMs, right? With the two CDMs, I feel like because defending in this game is very oriented around blocking that middle, finesse shots are very effective nowadays. So when I have my two CDMs in those positions, you can see that I have the left-footed player on the right side and the right-footed player on the left side. Two reasons for that, right? With Paulinho's card, I can finesse shot with his right foot because finesse shots are very effective this year. So if you do a time finesse shot, very good. And then Blaise Matuidi, same exact thing. Blaise Matuidi has poor shooting stats, but do you know why his finesse shots are good? Because he actually has a finesse shot trait. So it makes a huge difference in whether or not the card is good. That's why if I could still fit in Heung-min Son in my team, I would. Because because that finesse shot trait is very clutch. So that's the first reason. And then the second reason is because when you have the strong foot on the opposite side, when you are defending against the finesse shot, the foot that your player sticks in is his strong foot on the opposite side, because people have to cut inside to finesse it. So if you cut inside to finesse it and your player is using his opposite foot to defend against it, it's not as effective. So obviously in the attack, it feels a little bit odd to have right-footed on the left and then left-footed on the right, but it's been working out quite nicely for me. The reason why it's a weird thing, right, is because in this formation, it's nice to have a right-footed player on the right side in certain situations, right? So if you want to make a pass on the outside, your player passes it with the outside, right? He passes it with the inside of his foot, but it kind of curves to the outside. Whereas, when you put a strong foot on the opposite side, he has to pass the ball more direct or more closer to the other person's defender. So it doesn't really work out that nicely in the passing play. So you have to pass a little bit differently in that regard, right? But with this 4-2-3-1, the instructions that I use to make it work for me is stay back while attacking for the fullback, stay back while attacking and cover the center for the CDMs. The cam is on stay on the edge of the box and come back on defense. Again, I really want to congest the midfield as much as possible. It doesn't, for my play style, right? Because what people tend to do is they tell their cams to stay forward. I actually feel like for my play style, it's a detriment to keep the players to stay forward, because I like when they come back, so that when I receive the ball again, the players are closer to me so that I can build up the play again. I think having the left mids and the right mids unbalanced has a good balance for me, but there are times where I would like them to be linear and to always get in behind. Reason being for the getting behind part is because, as you guys know, with defenders in this game, the fullbacks kind of push out of position sometimes. So because they push out of position, it allows you to utilize that space more. So if you tell your left mids and right mids to get in behind, it works out really nicely. And I think that I actually may have that. So that's the balanced defensive. Defensive is what I'm on right now. So attacking, I might have to set up to be, so instead of the 4-4-1-1, I have this as a 4-4-1-1 for now. It's because I was trying out one of my viewers' tactics, which didn't work out really well for me. So I might switch that to a 4-2-3-1 bracket 2, where it's the same thing with stay back while attacking for the fullbacks and the CDMs, but instead I have the left mid and the right mids to get in behind. And for the cam to be balanced, right? So it's good to have two different variations of the 4-2-3-1 in that regard, where if you feel like you can really exploit the person's sides because they overcommit their fullbacks or something, then it would work out really nicely, right? Especially if you have players on the left mid, right mid, and striker to be able to win the ball in the air. Like, I don't really have those players. Like, if I had Ronaldo and stuff, I'd probably cross the ball more often. But, crossing still works even with Ben Yedder. Ben Yedder sometimes wins the headers because crosses are very effective this year. But this attacking variation, I can actually show you guys right now what I would actually do is players in the box is high because of that play style that I was playing. I do this and this because I don't like conceding counterattacks. Pressure on heavy touch has been working out really nicely for me. So the formation that I would switch to is this, right? You can see that the players are somewhat in their position. So Paulinho would have to switch over here, Matuidi on that side, Ben Yedder there. So the instructions would be like this, right? So stay back while attacking for the fullbacks. Stay back while attacking and cover the center or the CDMs. Cam would be balanced, but then this, I would tell them to get in behind. So this is my attacking variation of this formation, and everything else would just be unbalanced, right? So I feel like that would work out really nicely for me. I don't know if it's on 5 or on 4. I think it's on 4, actually, for the defense, because I don't want to concede those wide passes too much, right? So that's why I have it set up like that. But this seems to be working out really well for me, personally. This is on balance, so is the attacking that I switched to. So is this one right here. So this has been working out really well for me in terms of a good formation switch. You can see that I still have my ultra defensive version of the 4-2-3-1. So what the ultra defensive version does is I basically tell everybody to come back on the defense, right? Except for the striker, because when someone's putting a lot of pressure against you, it's nice to be able to pass them the ball. It's weird. Long pass? Do you call it a long pass? Because it's not. Is it a cross? You wouldn't call it a cross, because a cross is when you're on the sides and you're passing it to the inside, or crossing it on the inside. But what do you call it when you're? I guess you're just sending it's not a long through ball, but you're just sending the ball to your striker to be able to head the ball off to the sides so that he can actually kind of deplete all this pressure that is against you. Because constant pressure is very overpowered this year. Reason why it's overpowered is because instead of it just constant pressuring you with like a group of players on one side and then you have space on the other side, right? it doesn't really work like that. So constant pressure in this FIFA is every single player on the field is marked, which I've never seen ever done in real life. Like even when players or teams are losing, the pressure doesn't work like that. The pressure works with whoever has the ball, and then there's some players that are blocking other areas, but they're not marking every single player. So that's why constant pressure is really overpowered, because you don't really have any passing lanes to go to. Like if you check your radar when constant pressure is happening, you can't pass it to anybody because every single person is marked, and that's when the height and the physical presence makes the big difference. So with the ultra defense, you can see that I have stay back while attacking for the fullbacks, stay back while attacking cover center, come back on defense, and I actually might put stay on the edge of the box so he doesn't ever run inside the box. Come back on defense for the left mids and right mids. Come back on defense again, but the striker again balanced. Oh, he actually has come back on defense too. I don't know if I want to keep it on comeback and defense, because maybe if I pass the ball off to him, he wouldn't be able to outbody people. So it's a tough situation there. But I use this. There's certain situations in games where people are not aggressively pushing towards you. So for instance, they don't have a tactic set up where they're attacking very, like, I'm going to switch this formation because this formation is awful for the ultra attack. I definitely need a formation that's a 3 at the back with 5 in the midfield to congest the midfield as much as possible. So I would say something like the 3-5-2. Constant pressure, obviously, with I like the width a little bit more narrow. Fast build up I don't need. I actually prefer balanced players in the box, probably like here. Corners, putting a lot of people in the corners and free kicks would be helpful. The formation itself, we put Kylian Mbappe up top. Ben Yedder would obviously be a good cam, but it wouldn't work out in this situation here. So Ben Yedder would be switched to this side right here. I actually think I'd put Ben Yedder as a striker in this situation because he has a 5-star weak foot, which is nice to have. Probably switch him to that side. You want to switch him to the other side because finesse shots are very effective. So 5-star weak foot, cutting inside, finessing with his 5-star weak foot, very, very nice. Talisca, I would move over here. And then we have Joao Cancelo, Alex Telles on the left, because Alex Telles is a very good all-round player, so very nice to have on the left side. The instructions that I would have set up for this would be to stay back while attacking for the CDMs. Reason being for that is because when I'm on the sides with the midfielders, I want to be able to cut back and pass it back and then progressively move forward. And then the rest of them I would just keep on balanced, because when you tell your 2 strikers to get in behind, it only works when someone is still playing on a balanced tactic or an attacking tactic. So if they're putting constant pressure against you, if you tell your 2 strikers to get in behind, then you can really exploit the person's team because they're always using that constant pressure. So you just wait for that LBY essentially, right? You actually could, right, use the offensive style of the long ball, and you can see that it actually tells you the team will make runs for long balls into space behind the opposing back line. So again, when you tell your strikers to get in behind, it could be a very, very effective tactic to aggressively push forward. So it's definitely worth trying out for your players to really commit on those runs, right? So again, Mbappe and Ben Yedder will be pretty decent at attacking, right? So I'm actually going to give this a try for the ultra attacking to see if that works out really nicely for me. But the instructions, the only thing that I would like to set up is stay back while attacking. That tactic of attacking style where I have it set to long ball will already make your players make those runs in behind a person's back line. So because Ben Yedder and Mbappe both have high attacking work rates, Ben Yedder is high, but take into consideration certain things, right? Because Ben Yedder is high, he's not going to be as aggressive on the attack, but Kylian Mbappe will definitely be more aggressive on the attack. And with that tactic, you don't necessarily need to tell your strikers to get in behind because that tactic will make them do it. But the get in behind will make them do it even more. But it'll be a little bit more linear, right? So those are the best formations that I like using in FIFA nowadays. 4-2-3-1 is definitely my preferred choice. If I want to ever congest the midfield, I just play on ultra defensive, to be honest, because when all my players come back on the defense, when I receive the ball again, because it's on possession build-up play, my players come closer to me, so my build-up play is a little bit more, it's a little bit slower, but it works out for my playstyle personally, and it's always been like that with FIFA nowadays. I always feel like a more defensive approach is better because Rezub's tactics, when I tried them out with the 4-4-1-1, was aggressive attacking, right? 4-4-1-1, left mids, right mids, cut inside, getting behind, strikers to stay central, getting behind, center forward to get to stay central, center mid, stay back while attacking, but obviously their work rates will still push them up. And that's just not my play style, right? And that's something that people need to consider, right? The tactics and the instructions that you use might not work out well for you, but could work out for different people, right? I need to actually switch this to stay back while attacking, because you want to put that just in case I want to use the 4-3-3. You never know, right? But that is conclude the video for today, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy it. That is the best first formation in FIFA for me personally. I love the 4-2-3-1 bracket too. 4-2-3-1 narrow is very good as well, but I think with the 4-2-3-1 narrow, I would only be able to use it once I upgrade to better players. I think like the goal right now is to get Laurent Blanc as a CDM, because I think he would be massive as a CDM, right? I think he'd be a huge presence in my team. And then obviously in the future, I really want to get Ruud Gullit for that central cam position, because I think he would play that role the best way possible, right? So definitely some improvements that can be made in the future. We'll see where it goes from there. But thank you guys so much for watching the video today. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys enjoyed it, please drop a thumbs up on the video. Definitely helps out the channel a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.